other than turning our devices off, is there a way to combat the distractions of social media and media in general? Absolutely there is. You know, the disease of distraction is not something that was created by social media. It was not created by our devices. If you go back to our scriptures were talking about the monkey mind. Long before we had devices that beeped and blinked and binged and vibrated and whatnot. So distraction is actually a quality of the mind. Our devices have just co-opted that. Social media has just co-opted that. It hasn't created distraction. The people who are creating algorithms on social media are doing so based on how our brains already act. So, yes, number one, there absolutely should be no phone times. Now, there's no equation for that. We've all got different responsibilities, different lives. But what's important is that we give ourselves at least some time, whether it's a certain period of time in a day, whether it's in a week, however we're doing it, but a time in which we are not at the beck and call of anyone who has access to our device or any of our apps or any of our social media accounts. Otherwise, whatever we're doing, let's say you want to be meditating, you want to be reading a book, you want to be having a conversation, you want to be writing something, you want to be working on a project that means something to you and that requires attention. And every 5 seconds your device is going, you're not going to be able to give your attention to it. I've shared before, but our satsang audience changes, every night. It's worth sharing again. I was reading a study recently of the fact that the average worker in the average workplace is able to work for only 3 minutes at a time before they're distracted. Now, whether it's not always the devices, it could be somebody from the next cubicle leaning over and saying something. But most of the time, it's the phone, it's the email, it's notifications, it's WhatsApp, whatever it may be. 3 minutes. An average of 3 minutes without being interrupted. Now, that's part one of the data. Part two is that in 1 hour of working, in which you are distracted every 3 minutes, your IQ points drop by 10 points in the course of an hour. On average. They've done this research. They take people's IQ at the beginning of the hour. They do it again at the end of the hour. They've got their control groups and whatnot. Those who have been constantly distracted like that, their IQ has dropped by 10 points during the course of the hour. Now, if you did no work at all, and you simply sat at your desk and smoked marijuana, your IQ would drop by 5 points in an hour. Again, they've done the work, they've done the data. Now what that means is, that our current way of working is actually making us stupider than if we simply sat at our desk and got high all day and didn't actually do any work. Now, that's for me, it was a really, really powerful piece of research. As people who have sworn off drugs and alcohol and all forms of, intoxicants, the idea that actually the way that we work is taking away more of my brain than if I actually just sat there and, took drugs. So I share that because we need time, first of all, in which there's no phone at all, just no device at all. But chances are you're not going to be able to give yourself too much of that. And it doesn't have to be an all or nothing situation. The device is also a great tool. It's a help in so many ways. We actually use it. And that's the key. We need to use it rather than it using us. And so some really quick and easy tools are, number one, turn off all your notifications. Nothing should beep or ding on your phone other than an actual phone call. If somebody's actually calling you, let it ring. If you want to go a step beyond that, put it on Do Not Disturb or Focus, where it'll only ring if one of your selected people is calling. It's a fantastic way of having control. You're working, you're reading, you're sleeping, you're meditating. Now, of course, you don't want to miss an emergency call from a loved one, a family member. You're at work. You're working on an important project. You don't want to miss it if your boss calls during the workday. So you're able actually to program it in such a way that either it only makes noise if someone's calling, or it only makes noise if someone you've allocated is calling. But just stop all of the rest of the notifications. Yes, we get messages, text messages, WhatsApp messages, but my feeling always is, if it's an emergency, they'll call. I cannot even imagine someone saying, well, I got into this horrible car accident. I was bleeding along the side of the road. I texted you, you didn't answer, so I died. You'd call. You'd call. If it's an emergency, they're going to call you. If it's something super urgent, people will pick up the phone and make a call. Look at your messages on your schedule, not on someone else's. Not they've sent it, so you must look immediately. Set up a schedule. Depending on your role, your work, maybe it's once an hour. Maybe it's twice a day. Whatever it may be, but set up something so that you're in control, not the device in control. And as far as social media, for God's sakes, do not have it give you any kind of notifications with noise or without noise. If you want to go on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, go on it on your own time. See what you want to see. But do not have your phone be sending you things with every post, like, comment, share. It's literally handing over your life, your freedom, on the altar of someone else's financially based algorithms. They've designed this with one thing and one thing in mind only, which is grab your attention. If I know someone's got such a nefarious motivation, why in the world would I hand over my attention? They're clearly not looking out for our best interest. We know it's all about business. So stop letting them run how you think, what you do. Nothing wrong with social media. Just go on it on your own term, on your own time. See what you want to see. There's no reason to get these notifications. And then what you'll find slowly is the device becomes a tool in your hands rather than vice versa. Otherwise, we literally become slaves. As I always say, slaves to an algorithm. Somebody's written it. They've studied neurology. They've studied psychology. They've studied human behavior. And they've written code that hijacks the very habitual nature of us as humans for their own benefit. Don't give it to them. Just in the same way that we see so many advertisements for things, but we don't buy them. We understand it's just an ad. It's not really true. Just by smoking Marlboro cigarettes, I'm not going to be the Marlboro man. I'm not going to, be riding my horse out into the sunset on this deserted, beautiful pasture. No, cigarettes don't bring freedom. We know that. They bring illness and death. So we don't buy them, regardless of the advertisements. But the devices in social media and media has become the same. It's just selling us something by hijacking our minds. So reclaim your mind. If you're going to work with your thoughts, as Puja Swamiji was speaking about in the Arati tonight, well, first you've got to work with the mind in general. You've only got access to your thoughts when you can be aware of them. Most of us don't even have access to our thoughts because we're so busy simply reacting. Stimulus, response, stimulus, response. Take back the working of your mind so that you can take back your awareness, take back your focus. There's nothing that is worthy of achievement in life. From enlightenment, to playing the piano, to writing a book, to having a nap, to anything that can be done in bursts of 3 minutes in between interruptions. That which is worth having in life and doing and achieving in life requires us to be able to be present with it. So take back your life. It's a tool. It's got an on-off button. It's got a volume button. It's got all sorts of notification options. Use them. Let us be the ones in charge. And you'll see your entire nervous system, your entire mind will let out a very big when there's just a little bit of space in your mind.